Well, welcome everyone to the meeting for November 26th. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God, we ask your blessings on those who have been called to lead this community in which we live, work, and play. Guide us to peacefully through debate. Remind us that we are not only leaders, but we are also servants, and that it is our responsibility and ours to serve the common good of all. Grant us the wisdom and courage to know what is good, right, and true. May we speak out when it is time to speak out and listen patiently and respectfully when it is time to listen. May we always be guided by the spirit of community, by the spirit of justice, by the spirit of love, and always have the best for San Marcos at the top of our mind. Amen. Thank you. Okay, could we please have a roll call, Mr. Skullick?
Yeah. Councilmember Musgrove?
Here.
Councilmember Nunez?
Present.
Councilmember Sinella is absent this evening. Deputy Mayor Jenkins?
Here.
And Mayor Jones?
Here, thank you. Okay, next up is going to be our proclamations and presentations, and we have Letty and Casey from the San Marcos Prevention Coalition. Welcome. We haven't seen you in a while, so hopefully it's some good news this evening.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Let me just make sure this is working. Okay, awesome. Get to click through. Thank you so much for having us here today. I want to thank Councilmember Jenkins for the invitation and facilitating us coming and presenting to you. It's nice to be here. I'll just get right into it. My name is Casey Strang. I'm the Executive Director with the San Marcos Prevention Coalition, and with me here today is Letty Robles, who's our Prevention and Community Relations Specialist. So this is our mission statement for the San Marcos Prevention Coalition. Just thought it's a little wordy, but I thought we'd go through it real quickly so we're all on board as to exactly what the Prevention Coalition does. The San Marcos Prevention Coalition's mission is to reduce youth alcohol and drug use and advocate for safe and healthy neighborhoods by improving environmental norms and community policies and enhancing efforts to promote and deliver effective substance abuse prevention. And with that, we have really two primary goals, and I'm not going to read through those, but the first is collaboration. And we do that by involving all the different sectors of the community to work together so that we can accomplish our goal, which is number two, is preventing and reducing youth substance abuse here in San Marcos. Drug Prevention Coalitions. So drug prevention coalitions are a critical part of the nation's drug prevention infrastructure. They're a catalyst for creating local change to prevent and reduce youth substance abuse. And we believe that mobilizing the entire community behind solving a problem is the most effective way of doing that. And this right here is really important. This is kind of our special sauce for the Prevention Coalition. Our coalition is made up of people who live and or work in San Marcos. As you can see here, there's 12 different community sectors, and I just wanted to go through them all with you real quickly. Youth, parents, businesses, media, schools, youth serving organizations, law enforcement, civic and volunteer organizations, churches, healthcare professionals, government, and substance abuse organizations. So we really are a coalition of local people who are working on local problems, addressing local solutions. And again, we are so proud of all the different coalition members and the broad support that we get from everyone in the community. So our Prevention Coalition uses what's called a strategic prevention framework. It's an evidence-based model, and we do that, or we implement this framework using these different pieces here. We assess needs, build capacity, we plan, implement, and evaluate, all with a lens of having sustainability and being culturally competent. So that first part is really kind of the heavy lift that we do, and that's the needs assessment. So we collect and analyze both local, state, and federal data. We look at what, in San Marcos, what are the risk factors that are contributing to youth drug use, and what are the protective factors that are discouraging youth use. And we also look at and identify the social and community norms here in San Marcos. So this is a photo of one of our coalition meetings. We meet almost every month. We go dark in the summertime and in December, but we meet right over here at the North County Regional Education Center. Usually it's the fourth Thursday of the month. It's usually at 9 a.m. And anyone who's interested is welcome. The more the merrier. And we also have different work groups meeting throughout the year as needed. Something I wanted to highlight tonight real quickly is something we're proud of, which is our drug-free teen presenters. And if you're unfamiliar with it, I'll just describe it real quickly. At San Marcos High School and Mission Hills High School, we go in working with our coalition members with the school district, and we recruit seniors at both San Marcos High School and Mission Hills High School who have always been drug and alcohol free. And they turn into our drug-free teen presenters. They go out and then talk to middle schools, and usually if they go to an elementary school, it's usually just the fifth graders. But what they go and they do is they let the kids know why it is they made that important decision early in their life to be drug and alcohol free, and why that decision has benefited them. It's a really important message for them to communicate to our young people. And we've seen great success. The kids love it when the seniors come. They idolize them, they're rock stars. We encourage the seniors to, if they're part of a sports team or a club, to wear that t-shirt or that jacket, because when the kids see them, they just light up. And afterwards, the kids always run up to the stage and want to talk to the seniors because they really become an important role model. And it's important for these teen presenters to realize that decision they've made to be drug and alcohol free is really important. And they get to highlight themselves. So it's kind of a win-win. All right, moving along, educate, advocate, and collaborate. So we try to get out in the community as much as possible. And Letty leads this effort, and she does an amazing job for us. We love to listen and to learn and to invite interested community members to our coalition meetings. We invite them to become part of the movement and part of our work. With all of this, we get to talk to broad spectrum of people, and we have a good sort of pulse on what's happening in our community, where the problem areas are, and we hope to find solutions together. And also, it helps us when there's certain policies and laws that are being discussed and debated at the local level, the state level, and even at the federal level. It gives us an opportunity to be that voice for the families that we are in contact with almost on a daily basis. So we can give that prevention voice, because a lot of the laws and the policies that are passed are either going to contribute to further youth use or discourage it. And so it's important for us to be that voice. Community forums. This is another great way for us to get input from the community, but for also to educate. We will meet with any group at any time on any subject. We just recently presented to a group of 9 and 10-year-olds and talked about drug prevention, which is an interesting exercise to go through, to talk to them. We've met with retirement home communities and everyone in between. And so if there's a specific topic that they're interested in, if it's not Letty or I, we can find that expertise in our coalition, and we're willing to go out and talk to whoever. Now, this gets us to something that's kind of interesting that I wanted to talk to you real quickly about. Over the many, many years that we've been doing these community forums, we present a lot of different information and statistics. We bring out all the drug paraphernalia that we have, all the different flavored devices that the kids have and that we find on campus, and all those sorts of things. And a lot of the times, one of the parents will inevitably ask us, this is really good information, but are my kids getting this information in the schools? And what we have to tell them was unfortunately, no, because back about 15 years ago, state and federal funding for drug prevention curriculum was taken away, and so that school-based drug prevention curriculum was no longer happening around 2008, 2009. Something has changed now. I think the pendulum has swung back, and thanks to our County Board of Supervisors and the San Diego County Office of Education, they vetted a bunch of drug prevention curriculums. They came up with one which is called Project Alert, and they've allowed any school district who wants to put drug prevention curriculum back in their schools to use this curriculum. They'll come out and they'll train whoever it is that's going to do the instruction. And so our school district, we didn't even have to let them know this was happening. Our school district raised their hand right away. It was one of the only districts, actually countywide, who agreed to implement this drug prevention curriculum. I think there's over 40 different school districts in the county, and only 6 of them agreed right away. And San Marcos Prevention Coalition was one of the first ones, because we've been building this sort of culture of drug prevention. And so we're so grateful for our school district partners for their willingness to put this drug prevention curriculum, because we know from our parents this is something that they want to see. Okay, so just go through real quickly. Fentanyl prevention campaign intro. This is an infographic that our coalition put together. Our vaping prevention campaign, and again, these are all infographics that we've put together through the years. This one's on marijuana prevention, and this is just tool 1. We actually have 4 different tools. And this is our underage drinking prevention campaign. All these infographics are done in English and Spanish. And all these infographics were, we did a targeted mailing where we mailed them out to households with 12 to 18-year-olds. They were emailed out with the school district. School district has a great email list. They blast this out to their parents. Our media coalition member, sector leader at the Coast News was able to give us, we're close to about 20 free ads in their newspaper of this fentanyl infographic right here, which is great. So we're really thankful for them. They've been great partners. And also gives us an opportunity, this underage drinking prevention campaign gave us a great opportunity. That's one of our old prevention members from the National Guard. He was able to assist us on this project. But it gives us an opportunity to go out and meet the store owners, right? The retail environment is really important to us. That's where alcohol and drugs are sold, nicotine. Thankfully, just nicotine and alcohol. So those are important access points. We want to ensure that the store owners and the managers and the clerks know that it's important that they need to ID and make sure they don't sell those products to our young people. And we've been able to create a good relationship with them and let them know that they're an important part to reducing and preventing drug use in the community. So this is what it's all about. It's all about protecting this adolescent brain. We know that drugs and alcohol, when it's flooded into the adolescent brain, it can do a lot of damage. We know that the adolescent brain is very susceptible to addiction. The adolescent brain matures up into age 25. And so it's really about protecting this brain. Our kids only have one chance to grow up. They can't do a do-over. And so we want to protect them, protect that vulnerable developing brain, and let them be as healthy and safety and healthy and safe as possible. And then our last slide here is kind of leave you on a little bit of some good news. So every 2 years, the California Healthy Kids Survey is administered through schools throughout California. And there's a whole section on there they ask about drug use. And what you can see here is that the majority of San Marcos teens are, in fact, drug and alcohol free. And you're seeing that that's climbing. So this is going in really a great direction. And we're hoping that we can continue to see this escalate and see more and more teens choosing to be drug and alcohol free. And this is an important message that our teen presenters provide to the little kids, to the middle schoolers. They let them know that, you probably think that once you get into high school, all high schoolers are drinking or they're all vaping, using drugs. But the reality is that the vast majority of the teens are drug and alcohol free. And that's an important message, that positive social norming. And so I think that's my last slide. Yeah, so again, we want to thank you, wish you all a happy Thanksgiving and happy holidays.
Thank you for the update. I have a question for you. Yeah. So it was last week, I want to say last Thursday, I was at a forum. It was actually a hospital forum. But it was kind of interesting to me because one of the council members from the city of San Diego had mentioned that she had brought forward a synthetic drug ordinance. And I went, well, wait a second. We did that I think I brought that forward maybe 10 or 12 years ago. And so is that making a comeback? Are synthetic drugs coming back? Because we've had that such a long time.
Yeah.
I just was a little surprised that she brought it up and acted like it was something that's happening again. And I'm just wondering how that's going, if you could maybe give us an update on that.
Yeah, so I think that the ordinance that was passed here, I think that you championed here, was the bath salts
Yes.
and
Synthetic, yeah, with synthetics,
spice,
yeah.
synthetic
Herbal
marijuana.
incense and other
Yes,
synthetic drugs.
exactly.
Yeah.
I think what the council member in San Diego is talking about is this new product that's called, it's intoxicating hemp. And what they're doing is they're creating these products that are gummy bears, sodas, candies, chips, using hemp. It's a loophole. And with that loophole is there's no age gating, meaning that these products can be sold at any store and there's no age requirement. And they're really appealing to kids. And in fact, we're going to have a whole discussion on this at our next coalition meeting. But I'm almost positive that's probably what she was referring to. Some cities are moving to officially ban those products. The governor in September issued emergency order to ban all those products statewide. And so now I think law enforcement is starting the effort. In fact, our elected Sheriff Kelly Martinez, I think is her name,
Yes.
right? Yeah. She had a press conference, I think about a month ago, talking about these new intoxicating hemp products. And I know that the sheriffs are taking this seriously because they've been able to purchase these products, purchase some here in San Marcos, unfortunately, as well. But they're looking at going into the stores where we think these products are being sold. They're doing like an education campaign first, and then but then confiscating them as well. So it's something we want to address because these products are, even though they're made from hemp, they have a lot of THC in them, which means they're really potent. Again, back to the adolescent brain, those potent products can do a lot of harm and damage.
Okay, well, I wasn't aware of that, so we may actually look at our ordinance to see if we can just do a simple update.
It could
because
be,
it seems to me, yeah, it should probably work. So thank you for that. I actually missed that press conference. I didn't see it, so.
Well, we're going to show the whole press conference at our next coalition meeting. I'll
Okay.
send you the link.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll send you,
I
I
really
can send the
appreciate
council
that.
the link, yeah.
All right, any other questions from the council?
I have some questions.
Sure, Deputy Mayor.
Casey, how long has your organization been serving the community?
So informally, probably 2012.
Okay.
And yeah, and then more formally, 2013 is when we really started gaining steam, and 2012 is when we were kind of meeting different members in the community, trying to put this coalition together. Is there a need? Are people interested in it?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate everything you do.
Oh, yeah.
So, a couple notes I made as you were talking. What significant changes, positive or negative, have you seen over the recent past in the community?
Positive significant changes.
Either one.
Yeah, well, I mentioned the drug prevention curriculum in our schools. That's
Okay.
huge. For 15 years, we had no drug prevention curriculum
Okay.
in any of our schools. And starting in the fall of 2023, we've implemented this back into, and we, meaning the school district, has decided to implement this back into our schools. And when they were discussing it at the County Board of Supervisors level, we were able to be a voice and let the supervisors know there is value for doing it. Our parents want to see it, and we need it desperately. And so we're really proud of that fact that our school district just quickly adopted it. They didn't have to; it's just voluntary. I think we're still one of the only school districts up here in North County that has it.
Okay. And then what do you see moving forward? I think you mentioned a couple things that you're monitoring. What do you see your big issue that you?
Yeah, so I think looking at those products that have been banned for a long time or for many years that we're still seeing in our stores is very concerning to us. Those flavored tobacco products. That was part of a statewide proposition passed by voters several years ago, passed in Sacramento. Both Republicans and Democrats were all in support of it. We're still seeing those products, and we'd love to remove those flavored products. The intoxicating hemp products are a concern to us. There's no regulation on them. Like I said, there's no age gating on them. So there's no oversight on them. Getting those out of the stores would be hugely beneficial to our youth.
Okay. Last question is, how do you carry on your important mission with such a small twosome?
Yeah.
I mean, I know you have a lot in your
Yeah.
meetings, but how do you carry on? How do you keep this going?
Yeah, so we try to encourage our coalition members to bring different funding ideas, grants to us. I know you sent us one the other day, so that we're aware of what sort of grants are out there, both public and private grant funding, because that's how we rely on sustaining ourselves. And so we always have to be looking, a few steps ahead to make sure that the coalition can be sustained for many, many years.
And how far out does your current grant go? How many years?
Well, it's kind of on a yearly basis.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
because government budgets change every year. So it's it can be a bit nerve-wracking because we don't always know from year to year. But
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks
you're
for all you
welcome.
do.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, really appreciate both of you very much. I actually thought you'd been around as long as me, so I remember when I first met you two, and I thought, wow, you guys are really doing some good work. So I'm surprised it actually was only 2012. That surprises me.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you really.
Thank
for
you
all
so much.
do.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
I have
Oh,
a
I'm so
question.
sorry, Councilmember. Yeah, go right ahead.
Thank you, Casey and Letty, for being here and for presenting on the wonderful work that you're doing. I'm looking at the numbers that you provided to us, and I'm really glad to hear that the majority of our youth, of our teens, right, or you mentioned are drug-free. So, in thinking about the work that you're doing, and it seems like you really have a lot of impact on probably the entire family, not just the youth, but it seems like you come in contact with parents and entire families in the community work. And so part of what I'm thinking about is, I'm sure you encounter families, individuals that unfortunately are not drug-free and are probably enduring a lot of hardship and have a lot of needs. So is part of the work that you do connecting families, individuals to resources?
Absolutely.
And what does that look like for you?
So some of our coalition members work in treatment. And so there are treatment providers here in San Marcos and in North County. And so, yeah, we get emails, phone calls from parents who are concerned that their kids are, dabbling in different things or are addicted. And so we're able to point them to those sort of trusted resources that we know about here in the community. The Teen Resource Center, which was here in San Marcos for many, many years. Unfortunately, they had to move to Escondido, but that was a great place that we would send our families to. And then there's others, connecting them to the school social workers too at their schools. And so we don't do treatment. Our focus is primary prevention, but we do have coalition members that do work in treatment, and so we can connect those families to those places. Yeah.
I did see in your presentation materials that you include True Care. Are they actively involved with providing some of those resources, or
True Care
what
is one of
that?
them as well. Yeah. So True Care is a great partner. So in fact, one of those infographics that I showed you, I think it was the fentanyl one. They asked us if they could send that infographic out to every single family in the city of San Marcos. And we agreed, yeah, if you want to do that. And they printed them and they mailed them out. I think it was like 14,000 homes received that infographic. So they are a vital component of our coalition. And we like to collaborate with True Care. True Care does, I think they do a couple street fairs throughout the year. And we try to support them as best we can. Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And thank you for being
Absolutely.
here.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to the consent calendar. Do we have any items that any council members wish to pull? Seeing none, do I have a motion, please?
Move to approve?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any noes? Okay. Moving on to oral communications, we have Ron Bird, followed by Patricia Phelan. Ron, you're up. Welcome. No, you're next. You're next, ma'am. Patricia, you're next. No problem.
Well, good evening, and thank you for letting me speak. My name is Ron Bird, and I'm a resident of Palomar Estates West. It's a mobile home park up here on the west side of San Marcos. I initially wanted to discuss the potential for neighborhood electric vehicles in San Marcos. However, a more pressing issue has come to my attention thanks to my friends in Carlsbad. I've attended several meetings regarding the airport expansion plans, and the current concern is the American Airlines contract that the County Board of Supervisors will vote on December 11th. While many support increased airline access, the perspective from my community is quite different. We live in the most impacted area along the flight path, which includes 2 other mobile home parks representing 1,186 homes, primarily occupied by senior citizens on fixed incomes. Our community experiences significant more aircraft pollution than normal, and the noise levels exceed EPA recommendations. There have been jet fuel leaks, and with increased airport use, the risk of a mid-air collision or crashes into the giant water tower rise. The history of Palomar Estates West shows that the airport concerns have been ongoing since 1979, when a group organized as Citizens Against Palomar Expansion was formed. Although those original San Marcos members are no longer with us, public records from 1992, 2006, 2018 highlight the continuous efforts to address safety and noise concerns in our community. Recent FAA studies have shown the health impacts of airports. Our unique valley topography traps pollution from aircraft in our air. If this were an industrial plant, it would likely be located out of the state. While the city of San Marcos remains neutral on Palomar Airport, I urge you to consider the measures taken by the cities of Vista and the city of Carlsbad to protect their residents. Please convey to the supervisors before the December vote that our community has valid reasons for concern and that there are residents that oppose the contract with American Airlines. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Next up is Patricia Phelan. Phelan, my apologies. Welcome.
I know I should have wrote something up. And this is exciting. We were here a few years back at Vista Meadows. We were all here. We had a lot of people coming from a lot of the parks because our owner was trying to raise our rent a lot of money, $150 each. You were wonderful. It was turned down. He had to prove he was losing money. So this is the second time I've been in here. It's exciting. And I love San Marcos. I've been here. My family's been here. I had the pleasure of being in the Olympics for the United States when I was very young. So that was a wonderful thing to have happen. Then I got a job with Palomar College, was teaching there for years and years. And I've been in the same home for 45 years that my father bought. My husband died. I came out to stay with him. So this has been like paradise until right after COVID, they got a lady, and the owner, one of them died, the Jack that doesn't care, same guy that tried to raise us 150, is now trying to put all of the homeowners, and I am one. I didn't know what to write because it's not a coalition, but I am one of the homeowner association people, 20 years. There are 5 of us. We are all under harassment. She didn't want to, the new manager, come to us about changes, so she just put us all onto a lawyer named Gregory Beam. He is sending me eviction papers. My husband is seriously mentally ill from 20-year Air Force. He's got serious problems. The Veterans Association Medical is helping us a lot, but it's maddening when we just paid a $7,000 fine last year for having a vacuum cleaner in our carport because we have a carpet there. And we had to pay $7,000 fine. Now they're evicting me, and he sent me a statement saying, I need 10% of the money you get for the house or I'm not gonna let you sell the house. This is, to me, horrible harassment. My husband and I have been, had businesses here, my whole family. I love San Marcos. What you've done for San Marcos and for us to help us is amazing. And the ordinance we have, same as Oceanside, has kept this. But what they don't like my low rent. So they push us out, harass us however they can, get us out, which makes us homeless, and says if we don't get it sold by December 31st, they give us 60 days. We have to walk out and give them the keys. I'm not joking. This lawyer is that threatening, that ridiculous. I'm almost 80 years old, and I am, I'm handicapped, and my husband has serious mental illness, and he knows that. So I just want to make aware that the homeowners, all of us, a lot of the mobile home parks are having trouble over our low rent, our ordinance that was given to us, and the owners are greedy.
So,
So I just wanted some
Patricia,
help.
can you make sure you leave all of your contact information with our city clerk over here? We do have a rent control ordinance. It was passed by the citizens of San Marcos, which we will be supporting, of course. And we do also have a staff, well, it's actually a whole set of staff that will be able to reach out to you, but we need to make sure we have your information so that we can follow up with you. Thank you so much. Okay. All right, moving on to new business. Resolution 2024-9383, addendum to the city manager employment agreement. And I think we have maybe our city attorney.
That would be me.
Yes,
Yes.
maybe our city attorney presenting. Sorry, I was trying to give you just a moment because it looked like you were going
No,
through
I'm,
your
I'm good, but thank you so much. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Item 9 is item 8, excuse me, is the addendum to the city manager's contract. The initial agreement, as you may remember, it wasn't all that long ago, was entered into last September with a 4-year term and bore an initial salary of $275,000. There has been a 2.5% cost of living increase since that time. The City Council has recently concluded satisfactorily its review of the city manager's performance, resulting in the proposed addendum to the city manager contract. The proposed addendum extends the employment agreement and an additional 2 years. So if adopted, the agreement would now expire on September the 14th, 2029. It also provides a merit increase to the city manager's salary in the amount of 6%, retroactive to the pay period commencing on September the 13th, 2024, being added to the current salary of $281,875 would bring the salary up to $298,787.50. Additional compensation recommended for your approval consists of a $30,000 contribution to the city manager's deferred compensation plan and a contribution consisting of 1% of base salary to the city's retiree health savings account, city managers, as the city manager's group selection per pay period. Lastly, the proposed compensation in the addendum includes a one-time annual allotment of 80 hours of additional executive leave time. That concludes the staff report. HR and I would be happy to answer any questions that the council might have.
Okay. Any further discussion from the council? Seeing none, I move to approve. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any noes? Seeing none? And no abstentions. Okay, moving on to item number 9. Did I say item number 9 earlier? Miss Peak, I don't know if I did. Anyway, okay. Well, this is a lot, so I think I'm actually going to let you guys say all of this. I normally read everything, but it's like 2 pages because we have several items, all around our development-related fees and other impact fees. So anyway, I will let you, Isaac, take it away from here.
Thank you, and it is quite a bit. We're going to be tackling this a piece at a time. We'll be taking you through a staff presentation that will cover the breadth of the fees we have before you, and then we will place the individual public hearings before you following up. So with that, I'm joined today with Sylvia Daniels, who will also be helping me to present. just get us rolling. So first, we're going to present a little bit of background on our fees. As far as history, back in 2000, we did inclusionary housing in lieu fee. That's when that was adopted, and we set the methodology at that time. In 2001 was the last comprehensive update for our user fees. Although it's important to note that certain fees have been added or updated based on that current fee schedule as we've changed our processing. And in 2008, the city did its last update to impact fees. And then in 2012, the city adopted the current general plan, which established the land use patterns and framework for future development. So today, we're going to be bringing forward comprehensive updates to the inclusionary housing in lieu fee, impact fees, and user fees. So recognizing that there's been a little bit of time since our last update, we wanted to be thoughtful about how we approached this. So what we started with is really looking at this from scratch. We wanted to make sure that rather than revisiting dated studies and trying to update them, we just took a fresh look at the city. We wanted to look at the future needs of the city consistent with the current general plan and the associated planning documents. And with that understanding, we understood that this will affect businesses, it'll affect developers, and it'll affect homeowners. So we focused on an analysis that featured objectives of keeping fees tied to impact, remaining competitive with the region, and a key point of that is to refrain from becoming regressive. We also wanted to focus on making sure that the implementation of the fees was reasonable. You'll see a little bit later through this presentation, we're going to go over a proposed implementation policy that would apply once the proposed fees would be in effect. And finally, we look to strike a balance for key objectives, such as providing for the affordable housing financing, ensuring new market rate housing can come to fruition, and making sure that we're funding key infrastructure. So here's an overview, and our presentation will generally follow this pattern. We're gonna start with our public facility fees, and those are fees that ensure that new development pays its fair share for increasing demand to city infrastructure. We're gonna move into the inclusionary housing in lieu fees, which provides a mean for financing future affordable housing. And finally, we're gonna talk about the user fees that allow the city to collect for costs for providing services, such as those with permits. So going into public facility fees, also referred to as impact fees. Firstly, I wanted to walk through our current categories. The city has streets and circulation, which covers road and signal construction. Parks, as you might imagine, covers our parks, trails, and other recreational facilities. Habitat conservation covering new habitat, and drainage covering storm drains. As part of our current categories, we have 3 that would be proposed for removal. That include the SR 78 interchange category, the NPDES category, and technology improvements. The SR 78 interchange covers construction of interchanges along 78 within the city boundary. NPDES covers federal requirements for stormwater quality and treatment, and technology improvements cover those that are required to support technology for development. As we looked at proposed categories, we looked at transportation, which we've expanded to include active transportation. We've retitled parks to be parks, trails, and recreation to be more representative of what it covers. Habitat conservation remains. Drainage has gone to storm drains. And we've added 2 new categories. The fire and EMS category to fund future facilities for both fire and EMS, and an advanced planning category to keep the city's planning documents current, which feed into future updates of the fees. Here, we're going to take a quick look at our current impact fees by use. We have single-family, multifamily, office, commercial, industrial. We also have light industrial and business park. It's important to note on this slide that currently we have a split of how our fees are applied, with some of the fees being applied at a per unit rate and other of our fees being applied at the acreage rate. As we move through this, you'll see that we are shifting to a per square foot rate. So as we went through the analysis, we wanted to make sure that we had a lot of considerations covered as we move through this. Mainly, how to bring the fees in line with current buying power and seeking mechanism to maintain that buying power. We also looked to identify how the city compared to others. And beyond that, as just a comparison, we wanted to look at identifying the overall burden to development in the city. So for example, we didn't want to look at just one agency's fees. In fact, many other agencies cover that. And as we move through this presentation, we'll be taking a look at that in a graph. We also wanted to compare like-for-like categories, transportation to other cities' transportation categories. We also wanted to look at how we were balancing our fees. This was particularly important for the in lieu category for housing. And during our review of the fees, we evaluated where funding may come from, including other places that funding might come from, particularly for parks and transportation. There are many robust grants out there that we will pursue. And so based on those considerations and the analysis performed by our consultants, we worked to look at the maximums that were justified and make recommendations from there. Here we see that comparison. This is for single-family homes. Currently, $16,570 per unit, plus drainage fees, which are variable, with an allowable maximum of $12.45 per square foot. That allowable maximum in the reports would translate to around $31,000 for a 2,500 square foot residence. Staff is recommending $6.70 per square foot, which translates to $16,750 for that same size house. It's important to note that while this seems like a small increase, when it's balanced with the increases proposed with the housing in lieu fee, the overall recommendations are for an increase to fees. Additionally, I'd like to note the movement to the per square foot cost, as I mentioned. This is a departure from our current structure and allows for a more direct relationship to impact. Moving into multifamily, similarly, we see a $12,590 per unit fee. The allowable maximum in the Nexus reports at $14.10 per square foot. When we look at that for a prototypical development, that translates to around $16,920 for roughly a 1,200 square foot unit. Staff is recommending $7.64 a square foot, which translates to $9,168 for that same unit. As we look at the other categories, you also see us bring together some of the categories. Currently, we have office, commercial, industrial, light industrial, and business park. Our studies identified office, commercial, and industrial, and within those categories, for office, we're recommending $10.52 a square foot, commercial, $10.93 a square foot, and $6.73 a square foot for industrial. As far as a market comparison, I want to go over a few things that we assumed and some of the observations we had during our analysis. Firstly, impact fees are the largest fees we collect as an agency from development. This includes the inclusionary housing in lieu fee. The city is not the only jurisdiction that imposes those fees. Other agencies such as water, sewer, and school districts all impose impact fees. For our market comparison, we looked at the cities along the 78 corridor. And during our survey, we found that most school districts either are in the process of or already have adopted the statutory maximum impact fees. For this purpose, they were excluded on the following graphs since they represent a level amount. And finally, the following graphs include the housing in lieu fee at the recommended levels. Sylvia will discuss that fee level in more detail here shortly.
Okay, can I stop you for just one moment? When you talk about that the city is not the only jurisdiction that imposes impact fees, you have the water district, which Vallecito, so that would be both for water availability as well as sewer availability. And then the school districts would be impact fees for students that are going to be educated within the community whenever a new development is paid. I just want to bring this up because many times I have folks asking me questions about this directly, saying, well, if there's no, the city needs to actually request these fees and I say, well, they're actually paid to someone else. For instance, the school district fee that we don't have anything to do with the actual schools and all of that. I'm wondering when and how they're built and when they're built and all of that. I'm just wondering if we have that on our website, because as I'm listening to your presentation and I understand how it works, but I'm wondering if we have anywhere on our website a little bit more of a clear message as to who pays what, and that it's in totality, that we only handle the city part, we don't handle the sewer part, the water part, or the actual school district part. Do we have that somewhere on our website that spells that out pretty clearly?
Within our development services fee schedule, we actually have those identified within it, including directing people to Vallecito's Water and Sewer, Rincon, depending on what sewer district they're in, as well as to the school district for that.
Okay, perfect. All right. I just, as you were speaking, it occurred to me, I was wondering if we had that spelled out. Thank you. Oh, yes,
Real
Councilmember.
quickly, AB 602 being the driving force behind changing per unit to square footage, and I think presumably to encourage smaller builds. Do they prescribe a dollar amount, or is that still left up to the local jurisdiction?
So the dollar amount is established by the Nexus report that's attached to these documents that establishes the maximum that we could collect.
Okay, fantastic, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Isaac.
So here we're going to take a look at a market comparison for a single-family home for the impact fees. The orange columns show the current fee levels. The green column shows the overall fees based on staff recommendations. For a single-family home, we land in line with other North County agencies. If we were going to look at this as part of what the other agencies charge and the in lieu component, you can see them called out here. The top part that is unallocated is actually the impact fee. Other agencies making up another large portion of that, and the proposed in lieu fee making up the rest of it.
One more clarifying question on that. So like cities like Carlsbad, they have their own water district, and so that's actually incorporated into their fee on the high part, correct?
That is correct. Each
Yeah.
one of these
Okay.
has it incorporated.
Perfect. All right, thank you. Oops.
Looking at multifamily, similarly, we see that the orange, we kind of retain our current position in this graph, with the city being kind of similar to where it was. And while we did discuss that this is a reduction in the fee for multifamily, the in lieu fee component does make up the difference. And so you can see that represented here by those brackets. Looking at office, a little bit different as we'll roll into this. There's overall greater impact fees gained from this category, but we generally remain in the same position. In this case, there's no in lieu fee category because we do not charge that on this type of development. So that's why that's excluded. But you can see much larger gains, but we're still well within market competitiveness for the region. I will note that the Carlsbad High that you see here is an outlier, and we did not consider that when we were setting fees. And so unless there's any other questions on impact fees, we can roll into it with Sylvia, who will present on the inclusionary housing in lieu fee.
Any questions by any council members? No? Okay, let's move on.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Tonight we'll present the inclusionary in lieu housing fees. So we'll begin with what are inclusionary in lieu housing fees? The city's inclusionary housing ordinance requires development to reserve 15% of housing units within new residential development for affordable housing for target households. Affordability levels are determined by the deficit identified in the city's most recent annual housing element report, or alternatively, the development may pay an in lieu fee of construction per resolution 2000-5417. The in lieu fee is required to be paid to the city and is used entirely for the purpose of partnering with affordable housing developers to produce affordable housing opportunities for lower and moderate income households. What is the impact of inclusionary housing in lieu fees? Since the adoption of the inclusionary housing ordinance in April 2000, the city has utilized the in lieu fee to support the financing of development of of 3,405 affordable housing units. And to give you a little perspective, in the last 10 years, That's resulted in over 800 units. In April 2000, when the fee was established, the methodology for calculating the fee varied on factors with inconsistency, including the housing market. The varying factors led to the city to land on a static $9,300 rate for the last several years. In the most recent municipal code update to the inclusionary housing ordinance, amendments were made to begin applying the inclusionary requirement to rental properties in addition to for sale properties, thus doubling the potential for in lieu fees moving forward. Pictured here is the most recently completed affordable development, the Allura Apartments, which just opened and will provide 94 deed-restricted units to our affordable housing portfolio. It's projects like the Allura Apartments that are developed in collaboration with affordable housing development partners with our in lieu fee funding. So the results of the inclusionary housing in lieu fee study are indicated here. The city engaged Kaiser Marsden Associates, who are here with us tonight, to conduct an in lieu fee study that creates a new methodology for the establishment of the in lieu fee amount. The study considers current market conditions, the economic impacts of on-site production, and the off-site affordability gap created by the need to produce affordable housing. The study proposed fee ranges that are economically feasible, that will not pose a constraint on housing production, and they utilized examples of recent housing products developed within the city of San Marcos. Additionally, KMA analyzed fee levels throughout the San Diego County jurisdictions to identify where the city of San Marcos land in comparison to other jurisdictions. Depicted in the last two blue boxes, the range for inclusionary housing across the region varied, or in the last two boxes is the city of San Marcos maximum allowable and the recommended amount. The range throughout the county spans from $0 from the city of Escondido and the county unincorporated areas, up to $34 per square foot in the city of Del Mar. The study recommended $25 per square foot of residential living space for the city of San Marcos, and staff is recommending $15 per square foot for the city of San Marcos.
Quick question on that. So the $15 includes in totality, or it is not in addition to the other fees that we are going to be charging on top of that?
Correct. This
Okay.
is independent of those fees.
Got it. Okay. Just wanted to.
Were we trying to find a range that keeps us viable in the market as far as attracting builds?
Yes, that's definitely part of what we evaluated.
So I just did a quick calculation on a 700 square foot apartment at the current 9,600?
9,300.
9,300. A 700 square foot apartment at $15 a square foot comes out to 10,500, which is not a huge amount per unit if you calculate it that way, but it does go a long way to adding more opportunity for builds if we're going to, target in lieu fees.
Correct, and the per square foot rate is a bit more equitable as well because it will allow for the variance for small units versus larger units.
Right.
And so the next slide will go into that a little bit more.
I have a quick question on this page,
Sure.
and it really doesn't pertain to us, but I'm trying to understand the logic here. So Carlsbad is high in all of their graphs so far, but yet they're one of the lowest here. I just thought that was odd. They're $16 a square foot, right? But one of the lowest versus all their other charts have been on the high end. Is there any, I'm just curious, is there any logic there? Or
Yeah.
So when we surveyed on impact fees versus, they are viewed very much differently because they go into different pots of money. I don't have an exact explanation, but I do know that Carlsbad has a wide variety of impact fee categories in different neighborhoods that create a lot of variance.
Okay.
So there's a balance there as well. I can't really speak to
Yeah.
their planning
I
around
just
it, though.
thought it was curious, that's all. Thanks.
So the inclusionary housing in lieu fee analysis, As we looked at that study and spoke with stakeholders during community outreach and BIA outreach, we considered market competitiveness and how the application of the in lieu fee would impact development. We were aware of the fact that the fee is now being applied to every residential development and would go from, prior to the updated ordinance, $0 to potentially up to $37,000 per affordable unit for rental properties. We also considered the balance of our internal fees, recognizing that admin and our PFF fees were also going to impact the development cost at the same time. And we wanted the fees to meet the needs to develop affordable housing while not overburdening development and potentially negatively impacting or slowing development. The chart listed here identifies a sample project of single-family residential homes with an average of $2,500 per square foot unit. That would have a fee of $37,500 per affordable unit, and a multifamily residential project with an average unit size of 1,200 square foot per unit with a fee of $18,000 per affordable unit. Similarly, a 1,000 average square foot unit would mean a $15,000 fee per unit. In summary, staff are recommending a 15 per square foot of residential living space and are confident in our ability to maintain our affordable housing production pipeline with these fees in combination with Waterfall Redevelopment Agency funding.
All right, thank you.
All right, now we'll get into user fees a bit. So firstly, we'd like to define user fees. They represent a cost associated with a limited to no community benefit item. The use of the fees must be voluntary and must be related to the reasonable cost of services provided. And finally, the fees are those that support the cost of delivering a service. What falls into these fees are typically permit fees, inspection fees, the things you typically think of when you're coming into a building department type of situation or getting a fire permit or even planning entitlements. The user fee study that was performed identified the cost of service and identified potential fee deficiencies in delivering services. The study looked at direct costs of labor related to providing services. It looked at support costs related to providing those services for the individual departments for where the activity was taking place, and looked at the individual positions performing the work. Additionally, the study looked at the budgets and time estimates on those activities. And once that was digested, a full cost could be determined and recommended maximum rates could be determined. Similar to impact fees and the housing in lieu fees, staff evaluated the user fees based on several criteria, including reducing barriers to entry for businesses, keeping fees lower on safety-related permits to ensure compliance, and ensuring large-scale development was paying its way. We also looked at evaluating how fees may dissuade the use of a service and identifying new ways of doing business. Also, as part of this phase, we did similar market comparison as we've discussed previously in the other fees. And then we looked at outcomes to make sure that the fees do not exceed the cost to deliver the service to make sure we're in compliance with state laws. Let's take a look at the results of the fee study. Most of our current fees are well below the full cost of providing services, so over 50% needed to be increased or have a change in methodology. An example of a change in methodology was moving to a valuation-based model for many of our building permits. About 15% of the fees are new, and we'll break that down in a little bit more coming up. 25% of the fees saw no change, and 4% decrease was primarily due to facilitating reductions to barrier to entry and helping promote adherence to permits that allow for safety. This outcome aligned with our goals of keeping in alignment with the region, supporting the cost to deliver services, retaining a business-friendly environment, and remaining current with the cost to deliver service. By the numbers of 3 of the categories we discussed, 108 of the fees remained unchanged. We saw a reduction in 19 fees and an increase to 186 fees. Not shown are the changes in methodology fees, which have more to do with valuation-based models than the fees. And so in that valuation model, we go to a calculation base instead of a fixed fee. Also not indicated here are the 15% new fees. So let's break that down a little bit. In this graph, we can see that there was building, planning, engineering, and fire fees. Many of those are related to being able to provide flexibility of services. One of the key elements we added in was the ability to directly pass through consulting costs. That allows for flexibility in us to be nimble as development ebbs and flows. So we've looked at that and made sure we just have the options to do that. Although I think in recent budget discussions, we're pivoting to an internal service delivery model, but in case we might need it, we have that availability to us. We also looked at business license fees. These are the fees that would be required to be able to process and issue business licenses. For market comparison, we took a look at single-family residential prototype. For this analysis, we used common variables across cities. And in this prototype, you can see that we come in, that dashed line is the average, and we come in just under the average. When we looked at this relative to commercial office, similarly, we saw us coming in below the average for fees. And if there's no questions I can answer on the user fees, we can move into some other considerations that kind of apply to some of the other fees.
Any questions from the council? Seeing none, let's keep going.
All right, so some other considerations. Outreach. So we wanted to make sure we were being transparent in this whole process. So we made sure to hold public workshop. We made sure we were following all appropriate public noticing. We had information at our street fair that we participate in. Also, the website and splash page of the front page of the website was updated to indicate that we were going to be doing an update. We made sure to have informational handouts available, and that was up to this point. However, moving forward, we also have more outreach planned for post-adoption, and that includes reaching out to the development community and making sure that they understand the fees are coming, making sure our website is updated. So throughout the approvals, you will see that we set a date certain in there for March 3rd. And that's crucial because we want to make sure we have enough time to give everyone to get in their applications if they want to fall under the implementation policy and grace period, or if they just have questions for us, and we want to make sure we can also make sure that we address all those questions moving into adoption.
Thanks, Isaac. Does that also mean that if people have signed up for e-alerts, that they would get a notice via the e-alert system as well?
We do not have a particularly e-alert for this, but we can certainly work on that.
Yeah, that would, I think, be very helpful because there are a lot of people that have signed up for them specifically so they know what's going on in development services and that sort of thing. So if they have it in their mind, okay, we really want to move forward on this, maybe that will spur them to move forward if they're going to save a little bit of money. And then also wanted to make sure we're going to have the handouts available at the front desk, and then also in the front, in case it's on an off day that City Hall is closed, that they would be able to also receive it from that front little area where we have our pamphlets, informational pamphlets.
Absolutely, we can do
Okay,
that.
perfect. Thanks. Any other questions?
I have a
Yes.
quick question. I think you made a comment about reaching out to the development community. I thought we had already done that.
We did it many times throughout the process. And we're going to reach out to them after it's been adopted to let them know
Okay.
when the date certain is
That's-
and just communicate,
Okay.
over-communicate really.
Okay, perfect.
So going into the implementation policy. So in most situations, developers and builders consider impact fees at the same time they're looking to purchase a property. By the time they're in with us, they've made assumptions about the fees and the underwriting of their projects. So we wanted to be cognizant of that. So as we moved through this, we wanted to make sure we were setting a reasonable implementation policy for projects that were in the pipeline. And so any project that is currently in the pipeline or gets into the pipeline prior to March 3rd will go into this implementation policy and have a grace period of 2 years. The milestone for when that grace period ends will be building permit issuance. And we have included that into this packet with the full council policy for your consideration. This will apply to both the impact fees as well as the inclusionary housing in lieu fee, primarily because those are such large fees, and making sure that the projects are considering the new fees if they come in after March 3rd. This is also part of the needing to reach out to development community to make them aware that if they apply after March 3rd, they're going to be subject to new fees. So with regards to the user fees, we are not proposing a grace period. Projects that pay their fees prior to March 3rd will pay under the old schedule, and any development that has fees or permits issued or being required to be paid after March 3rd would pay the new fees. So moving into recommendations, I know this is a very long item with actions that must be taken in order. So I'm going to walk you through the recommendations. Item A would repeal Ordinance 2003-1203, which established the public facility fees financing plan to mitigate the impacts of development. Staff is requesting the ordinance be repealed and any pertinent provisions related to the city collecting of the payment of impact fees be incorporated in Resolution 2024-9386 as presented in Item D. Item B would establish new maximum fees based on current infrastructure plans within the Nexus fee study. Item C would provide a new funding schedule for impact fees. And item D would provide procedure for calculating and collecting PFF. Much of the original ordinance in 2003-1203 has been replaced by the Mitigation Fee Act, making much of that ordinance not applicable. The new resolution would capture the remaining pertinent provisions relating to administering the payment of PFF. Moving on into the recommendations for the housing in lieu fee. Item E would repeal the original establishing resolution for the current in lieu fee and establish a new methodology for determining the in lieu fee amount. Item F would establish a policy addressing how the proposed development impact fees and inclusionary housing in lieu fee would be applied to current projects. For the user fees, item G would repeal the current effective resolution for the user fees and adopt a new user fee schedule. And for Title 17, item H would amend Chapter 17.44 of the Municipal Code to make the section consistent with the repeal of Ordinance 2003-1203. With that, this ends staff's presentation, and happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, if the council has any questions, we'll go ahead and take those now, and then we'll start with item number A. Yes, item number A. We'll just go through each one. We'll go through all the different elements of that. But anyway, Councilmember or Deputy Mayor, go right ahead.
I have two questions. Can you discuss if there's any escalation clause so that we don't have to go through this type of process in the future? And if not, why there's no escalation clause?
Each of the Nexus studies identify that we can escalate, but those would have to be through separate action of the council on an annual basis.
So we can't build in an automatic escalation, correct?
That is correct.
And why?
That is correct. I'll defer to Madam Peak if she has any comments on this.
The CFD structure is different because you have people who are electing to be subject to that tax, and that tax includes an escalation clause. The fee structures are structured to be compliant with the Mitigation Fee Act, which states that you cannot impose or increase a fee without council authorization or approval, legislative approval. So we have provided for periodic increases not exceeding the maximum that is set by the study, but that would have to come before the council. And I'm sorry, it can't be easier or more efficient, but that's just the way the law is written. So.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that. And then, can you also address it seems like, to me, that we're needing to keep our fees lower because some of our other agencies have higher fees, and so that we're competitive in being able to continue to develop. Can you address that?
Yeah, that was a consideration as we surveyed many of the other agencies. It was apparent that some of the agencies that we share jurisdiction with and that would be applicable to these fees had much higher fees. One such example is Valicitos that has relatively high impact fees, which then necessitated the consideration of what we're recommending.
So that sort of thing required us to keep our fees lower so we don't collect as much because others are collecting so much.
You
More or
certainly,
less, in a simplified,
yes, I
world.
mean, effectively, that was the consideration.
yeah. Okay, thank you.
I have a couple of questions. Mrs. Peak, when you talk about an annual review, would that be better to be done in January, or would that be better to be done actually on a fiscal calendar? When would you recommend something like that? Do we know how other jurisdictions are looking at them? I guess that might be part of the consideration.
You know, I think it really generally runs at the, within a calendar year or so after they adopt, and they are adopted by different jurisdictions at different times. For example, January would be a tad quick for us.
Yes.
And I think you would lose staff if, in fact, you tried to do this again so quickly. And some cities do not do it annually. They,
Okay.
you know, you're essentially foregoing it, the potential for an increase. So I think if you looked at it near the end of, if it came to the council near the end of next year or early in the succeeding year, that might be a reasonable schedule and something that might work. But you have to also keep in mind what departments are doing budget-wise and what finance is doing budget-wise, and try to work that in with, you know, all the rest of the budgetary activities.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. So, Michelle Bender, our CEO of our company, the city, I would like for us to have this come back to us after 1 year, basically, which would be January. And then I think we could probably decide at that point in time if we want it to be an annual, or if we want to maybe do it every 2 years, or, you know, you guys, you're the experts. You figure out what works best for us. I think not having it with our budget, that would be a little problematic, so I definitely wouldn't want to do that. I think January seems like a pretty good time frame. So that would be my recommendation. And then also, when we talk about competitive, I definitely want us to remain competitive on the affordable housing portion of it, because that funding is so difficult to get in the first place, to secure, so that we can actually continue doing all the good work that we've done with affordable housing. And then also, I would want to make sure that we are always remaining a little bit lower when it comes to folks in our community improving their properties. I don't want us to be overcharging where they feel like, okay, well, now I don't want to invest in my home. We definitely want them to invest in our community. So I definitely would want those to remain a little bit lower than everyone else, not only just for the competitiveness, but really it's good for our community, because we are then encouraging people to remain, investing in their homes, which is good for all of us as property owners. So any other discussion from the council? Yes, Councilmember Nunez.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have a follow-up question to the mayor's request for us to look at this a year from now. So it seems to me that we probably have missed out on a lot of fees or fees that we could have potentially collected for in lieu that could have contributed to our affordable housing stock. And maybe I'm looking at it incorrectly, but it seems like this is something that we should have probably taken up some time ago. And it seems to me it is really a huge undertaking for the city staff to do this. So with regards to the in lieu fees in particular, what would be different a year from now?
So during the updates, we're not required to do another study. So it would be a much more condensed update. It would be using the escalators prescribed. So it would be a matter of math calculations. It's not the full study.
So where do I find the escalators in our materials that we have for?
We've indicated escalators or recommendations for escalators within each resolution. So for, I believe, for in lieu, it's the construction cost index that we're utilizing. I believe it's very similar for admin and the other user fees.
Which item is that?
The resolution specifically,
For the escalators?
that's something we can pull up.
That would be very helpful for me.
Do we have?
So in lieu would be item E and item F. I'm sorry, item F, because that's the adoption of the city council policy regarding PFF and in-housing in lieu fees applied to active projects. Let me see if I can find the page number on that. That would be, well, it's actually in the attachment in, it's 4 pages, if I'm not mistaken.
I think
That's item H1.
Are you looking at
that
E or
correct?
H? I just pulled up item E on page 5 of 5 in section 4. It talks about in lieu,
Oh, wait, it might be,
in lieu fee may be adjusted periodically, no more frequently than annually, based on the engineering news record. Would that be it? Construction cost index to
Correct.
ensure fees. So any increase to the fee must be below the maximum. So it says it in the resolution. They're probably different. Let's see, where's H?
We do have our consultant here, KMA, who is, can help us walk through what that escalator looks like as well.
I appreciate, that would help me to see what we should consider then for the following year.
Right.
Yeah.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Paul Maurer with Kaiser Marston Associates. You have our study, I believe, attached as an Exhibit A, if I've got that right. And on page 17 of our study, we review a series of indices that are published in the industry that you could use. The building cost index, the construction cost index, and the consumer price index. And then on the next page, we show a 23-year history going back to when you first adopted your inclusion.
Can you tell me what page are you looking at?
Do you,
In the agenda packet, page 9.116.
And then I have the study up, so which page of the study? You referenced the page.
17.
17?
Thank you
Yeah.
for that.
Does that correspond? Okay, thank you. I don't have my notes marked with your numbering. So it's pages 17 and 18, we review potential indices. And page 18 is a brief page where you'll see with a short table. And we show you the average annual increase over the period since you first adopted your inclusionary ordinance. So, for example, we typically recommend the construction cost index published by Engineering News Record, and that has averaged 3.4% annually over the last 23 years. So if it continued at that rate, next year you would be considering an increase of up to 3.4%. And we think that ties well to the cost that you and your affordable developer partners would face in constructing new affordable units.
Thank you for that clarification. I think
Sure.
that's really helpful for me and for our development partners. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Seeing none, okay, we're gonna start the heavy lifting, everyone. Okay, item A, repeal of ordinance 2003-1203. I'd like to open the public hearing. Do we have any public comments? Seeing none, do we have any city council discussion? Okay, I entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, motion to approve. Do we have a motion to approve?
I move to approve.
Second?
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any noes? Seeing none? Okay, going on, or moving on to item B, adoption of the development impact and fee nexus study. I open the public hearing. Any public comment? Seeing none, any city council discussion? Seeing none, I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can we,
Yes. I'm sorry, that was to close the public hearing. My apologies. That was a motion to
Approve
close
the
the.
closure of the public
Yes,
hearing.
that
I
was
get
a
it.
motion
Okay,
to
sorry.
close the public hearing. My apologies. Was that a second for the public hearing?
Yes,
Okay,
thank
let's vote just one more time for the record. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any noes? Okay, motion to approve the item.
Move to adopt?
And
Second?
okay, that's a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Okay, thanks. Moving on to item C, adoption of the development impact fee schedule. I open the public hearing. Do we have any public comment? No. Any city council discussion? Seeing none? Okay, move to close the public hearing. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any noes? Okay, now we're really rolling. Okay.
To adopt?
All right, motion and a second to adopt. All in favor?
Aye.
Any noes? Seeing none. Okay, moving on to item D. This is not a public hearing, so I would entertain a motion.
Move to adopt item D.
Okay, do I have a?
Second?
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, item E, repealing the resolution 2054-17 and adoption of the inclusionary housing in lieu fee. I move to open the public hearing, or I'm opening the public hearing, and I do have one public comment, and that would be Flower Alvarez Lopez. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. For the record, my name is Flower Alvarez Lopez. I am part of Universidad Popular. I serve as the co-director. I really appreciate you all tackling this tedious but overdue item. I am really not jealous of this part of your duties. This was a very interesting agenda item. Learned a lot about city fees tonight. I just want to put on the record that I hope that the fees that will be imposed, I would just like to see a little bit more discussion around the ones that are directly impacting working class families and homeowners. I do agree that those fees should stay on the lower end. I would like to hear a little bit of the council's discussion on this item. If I understand it correctly, it would allow developers to just buy out instead of actually creating units, low income or affordable units. I'm not sure if I understand that correctly, but I would like to hear the city council's thoughts on item E a little bit more in detail. Thank you.
Thank you, and I will allow staff to tackle that. I would like to state on the record as well that one of the things, as a long-term council member myself, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we've probably built in excess of 1,500 to 2,000 units in my time on the council. I don't have that number off the top of my head, but a lot of affordable housing. And one of the ways that we've been able to do that is pool the money together in many cases. And do you have some examples, Sylvia, that what we have built maybe in the last, 10 years or something like that? Because I think pooling the resources has been very successful for us. And since we're crushing it in the affordable housing compared to our sister cities, yes, I did say crushing it, I think it would be interesting to hear what those numbers are and how we've been able to pull that money together.
Sure. So within the last 10 years, we have been able to develop 828 units of deed-restricted affordable housing, in great part because of this in lieu fee that we established in 2000. I will also note, which may not have been clear in the presentation, that the requirement for the in lieu fee option is not citywide. There are 2 areas within our community where it is required to develop the 15% affordable. So that's another aspect of this that we didn't address, but is one of our more heavily growing areas and areas for future opportunity. So we do consider that when we looked at the fee study. That's the Creek Specific Plan area and our university district where we are anticipating a significant amount of growth. So that is implying that required 15% will be developed there without the option to pay.
Right, so that means they don't have the in lieu fee option, they have to build it, so it will be built. And I can't remember the number off the top of my head in North City, but it's pretty significant. It's several hundred, I believe.
It is significant. I
Yeah.
can't give you the
Yeah,
exact
okay.
number right now, but we can
I want to
provide
say
that.
it's in excess of 300,
it's
possibly
close to
400, yeah. I know it's pretty high, and, adding that to our 3,400 units, almost 3,400 units, it'll make a big difference in our city as well. So anyway, thank you for those numbers. Okay, any other discussion? Yes.
Just real
Councilmember.
quickly, Sylvia, I've thought about this before, but never asked. So 15%. Have we had any projects, or are they allowed to say, well, we'll do 10 and we'll pay in lieu for the balance of the 5? Can they mix it, or is it all or nothing?
That is an option. We have included the calculation for determining fractional units within the resolution.
Okay, so that is still an option with the exception of the 2 districts.
Correct.
Okay, the Creek District and the,
University District.
yeah. Okay,
Which is
so-
North City
City.
for folks out there that aren't aware of that.
And then
Okay.
I did get the number for North City. It's 510 units.
510, okay. So significant. That'll push us right around 4,000. Yeah. Okay, all right. Any other discussion? Okay, I would move to close the public hearing. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
And I would move to entertain repealing the, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong page. No, I think I'm actually, repealing Resolution 2001. Am I in the right
It should be
spot?
on- Should be on F.
Am I on F? Okay, oh, yeah, okay, that's not a public hearing. What? Am I on F or E?
We were on
Okay.
E. It was the public hearing, I'm sorry. Her comments for public for E.
Okay, that's what I was thinking originally. Okay, so sorry. Yes, so I would move to approve that. Any other discussion?
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, that was E that we were on, yes. Okay, moving forward to item F, which is not a public hearing. I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2024-9388. And do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
If you guys could see back here behind the the wizard curtain, you would be amazed that I could actually get through this. All right, item G, repealing Resolution 2001-5777. I'd like to open the public hearing. Do I have any comments? No. Okay, any further city council discussion? Nope. Okay.
To close public
okay.
hearing?
Okay, and we have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
Move to
Or,
adopt.
No, this is actually repeal. This is item G,
Adopt a resolution?
to repeal Resolution 2001-5777. Yes?
Yes.
Yes, okay, just checking. And do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Whew. Item H, introduce ordinance 2024-1553, amending chapter 1744. I'm opening the public comment. Do we have any public comments on this? No. Okay, any city council discussion? Seeing none, I will make a motion to close the public hearing. Do I have a second?
Second?
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, any noes? No, okay. So entertain a motion to introduce ordinance 2024-1553, amending Chapter 1744 of San Marcos Municipal Code. I make a motion to introduce. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any no votes? No? All right, all done with that portion. Phew. Okay, moving on to, I think we should be up, yep, oral communications. We have one speaker, which is Flower Alvarez Lopez. Welcome back.
Hello again. Just providing some updates on the record. My name is Flower Alvarez Lopez. Again, I'm Universidad Popular's co-director located here in San Marcos. In terms of civic engagement, Cultivando Liderazgo, which is our cultivating leadership project, and Celebrando Liderazgo, which is our celebrating leadership event. Our CL primarily operates at the San Marcos Elementary School, where we meet on Tuesdays, and at the House of Prayers in Escondido on Monday nights from 5 to 7 p.m. We are deeply grateful for our partnerships with the San Marcos Unified School District and the House of Prayers, which makes this work possible. During the Celebrando, the celebration event, we recognized 41 students who received their certificates of achievement. Additionally, since then, 5 more students have successfully passed their naturalization exam, a testament to their dedication and hard work. We were honored to have Mayor Rebecca Jones as a special guest who presented the proclamation on behalf of the city of San Marcos and awarded certificates to our newly naturalized citizens. Our also distinguished attendees included Cipriano Vargas, who had a dual role representing his office as the Vista School Board member and also representing the Office of Supervisor Tara Lawson Reamer. We had representatives from the Office of Assembly Member Lori Davis, which also included the lovely Donna Clary, Stacy Carlson, San Marcos School Board Member Trustee, Sarah from the Assembly Member Brian Manshine's office was also in attendance. And last but not least, Maria Nunez, San Marcos City Council member, who we proudly call the Heart of San Marcos. We extended our heartfelt gratitude to everyone who joined us to celebrate and continue to support our mission in empowering community members through civic engagement and leadership development. An update on our food justice and the Universidad Popular Food Pantry. We are proudly continuing and coordinating the Palma Valley Mobile Food Pantry every week, serving the community on the first, second, third, and fourth Tuesday of the month from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Palma Valley Community Center. In addition, we keep our doors open for those who wish to donate or pick up items from our community pantry. This holiday season is our busiest season, as many working class families face challenges and they rely on these resources to meet their needs. We're very grateful to the San Marcos Democrat Community Action Group, who for the last year on a monthly basis has donated over 30 plus grocery bags each month. We're also grateful to the Rotary 78, who donated 2 turkey meals to families attending our Thursday night conversational English classes last week. You all have been bringing kindness and holiday warmth to the families. Again, those partnerships that we're very thankful for, and Feeding San Diego, Palma Community Center, and the Community Action Group, as long as those of you from the city that have really been doing outreach. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to reports. Sandag, we had a few things that we were getting updates on. Those are the most notable items. We accepted $3 million from the Caltrans Sustainable Transportation Planning Grant for the Border Climate Adaptation and Environmental Justice Plan. And then also the State Route 11 Otay Mesa East update was a big time amount of our time. And then also now we have an attorney specifically for the Board of Directors at Sandag, so we can feel that we're represented in all things that are pertaining to each of our cities that we're talking about at Sandag. And then we did end up having our change that we will have the Pledge of Allegiance and tribal acknowledgement at all of our meetings. At Sandag, being that we do that at the Board of Directors, we're going to be doing that at all of our other meetings as well. And that's about it. League of California Cities, Councilmember Musgrove.
We meet in 2 weeks.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Jenkins, NCTD, North
Hi.
County Transit District.
Forgot to bring my notes.
No problem.
Nothing significant. I did inform that Maria will be tending in December as my alternate, and I've already given her the date for
Okay,
that.
all right. Okay, North County Dispatch Joint Powers Authority, Councilmember Nunez.
Our next meeting and last meeting of the year is scheduled for December 4th.
Okay.
So we'll have a report at the next meeting.
Okay, Clean Energy Alliance, Councilmember Musgrove.
We presented a new contract for CEO, and that will be pending and should be adopted and report back for next month. The Solar Plus program, which I reported on prior, which allows for primarily low-income families to have solar panels and a Tesla wall installed. There have been some concerns because Tesla will not install rooftop panels on certain rooftops. So the Spanish tile, they won't do it. However, we've been-
Because of breakage or because they don't work properly, or do we know?
As a solar customer, I know that there's a problem when you install the panels on an existing roof. As hard as they try, you end up getting leaks.
Oh,
So
okay. We don't
what
want
we
that.
did was we opened the program up to local solar vendors beyond Tesla. So you can still get the solar panels put on by a local vendor, and we had one person who has a local company was already interested in doing that. So that'll be great coming up. And I did mention at the last meeting that the exit fees would be going down. We had, again, a preliminary report. We won't get the final numbers until the December meeting, so probably won't have that back as a report until January.
Okay, all right. And I don't believe we had any business visits. It's getting kind of slow. What's in 2 days? Thanksgiving. And then also on December 7th, we have our tree lighting. And then the 8th, we'll have the parade coming up. So a lot of exciting things happening. More to come. And you'll be able to find all the information of the goings-on in San Marcos on our website and probably the Chamber of Commerce as well. Okay, anything else? Okay, happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Do you want, that's why I said, is there anything from anyone else? Oh, Estrella. We did have that grand opening. That was on November 20th. Very exciting, 94 new housing units, affordable housing units, as we were talking about a little bit earlier. Thank you for that. Did you have anything to add? Because you were there.
No, it's a fantastic project. It's right across the street, literally, from the Allura. So while we saw the Allura presented on this evening's presentation, Estrella just adds to that housing stock that we have, and we got a tour. They're very nice units, so looking forward to getting those completely occupied.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you, everyone.